Creepy-ass Ragyo Kiryuin drops a bombshell on Ryuko in my review of Kill La Kill, Episode 18. Kill La Kill, you are by far the most consistently entertaining anime series I have seen in years. Just like your brethren Gurren Lagann, you're amazing. Every single episode is a bombastic animation orgy of madness, and I love every second of it. This week's episode was incredible because it introduced two really awesome story elements, and the action was awesome. It was badass, and it was constant. It didn't seem like it was ending the entire episode. So if you're an action junkie just like me, you're probably really going to like this episode. So let's just sort of roll through my favorite moments and let me tell you what I thought about this one. Nui Harime, she's fighting against everyone, and she is still incredibly disturbing. She fights against the Elite Four at the beginning of the episode, and I do like how all the members of the Elite Four get to sort of shine and have their little moments, but I think Sanagiyama, he's the one who really sold it, and he's a character who I think gets snubbed all of the time from the Elite Four because he didn't get to finish his fight with Ryuko. When Nui was introduced, he got his ass handed to him almost instantly, and here he really doesn't get to finish the fight. But he does have some pretty cool techniques, like how he's able to get rid of his arms, and he's surrounded by space and shit, and he's able to summon all of these bamboo swords, which he uses in almost like this Gatling style to take out Nui, and that's where the other members of the Elite Four jump in, and they start attacking as once, and it's just really, really awesome. But it's all a build-up to this one short moment where Satsuki and Ryuko have this battle, because Ragyo has this ability to control people with life fibers, and she takes control of all the different, soldiers of Hinoji Academy, and they all turn white, and you can actually see their brains, which are wrapped up with the life fibers, and I think that's a really nice artistic touch. It lets you know who's the bad guy, who's the good guy, and this is what happens to Ryuko. She basically becomes Hollow Ryuko, and she fights against Satsuki, and that's until there's this point where she's able to transform back, because I don't know how this works. Maybe they'll explain it later, but you know how Ryuko has that one red stripe of hair? It apparently can cut those fibers away, and that's when she's able to go into her full transformation sequence. And this is where the two big fights of the episode are actually set up, which is Nui versus Ryuko, and Satsuki versus her mother, Ragyo. And they're both really, really intense. But before I get to those, let me talk about this first big story element that's introduced this week. So Ichiro Kiryuin, that is Satsuki'S father. He's a character who was hinted at in last week's episode, but he's been fully revealed in this one, and we finally get a little more backstory. Apparently, he married into the Kiryuin family, and he and Ragyo were performing these experiments on their just-born children to infuse them with life fibers, and if the experiments don't work, they just throw the children away. That is fucked up. And it's also one of the most darker aspects of the episode, of the entire series, mind you. This is just crazy. When I was seeing this for the first time, I'm like, wow, this is really going into some really messed up places. And we haven't even gotten to the point where Ragyo actually decides to go down on Satsuki in this episode. We'll get to that in a second. But, so Ichiro decides that he's not going to continue doing these experiments anymore, and this is where I'm guessing this resulted in his death. Ryuko's battle with Nui is short-lived, but still incredible, and has a lot of really great animation to it, especially when they first start attacking each other, the way they're using their sword swings, and the way the sparks are just flying all over the place. But what's really cool about this scene is you finally get to see that both Senketsu and Ryuko are finally, fully synchronized, and they've become very, very powerful, and they're actually starting to push Nui Harime back. But before they can finish their battle, they cut away to Satsuki, who does this really one awesome beheading move to Ragyo, but because she's half life fibers and infused with them, she's able to heal her body as long as even one single fiber is still attached to her head, and she's able to put it back and go right back into place. And this is where she just starts to beat the fuck out of her daughter and just punches the crap out of her. And all the choreography here is very intense, and you're gonna feel every single punch. And there is this very creepy scene where she basically goes down on her daughter for a second and blasts her away. It's ridiculous, guys. It's intense. And it just makes Ragyo seem all the creepier. But at the end of the episode, this is when you're going to shit a brick. Oh yeah, guys. This is just another standard for the series, apparently. They feel the need to have to drop these in every single episode. But at the end this week, Ragyo decides she's going to start attacking Ryuko. And she immediately just goes Kali Ma on her ass and grabs her heart, rips it out, and apparently it's also imbued with life fibers. And this is where we learn that Ryuko is very similar to Ragyo in terms of her composition. But that's not the big part. The big part is that Ryuko is actually the daughter of Ragyo Kiryu, and thus making Ryuko and Satsuki sisters. Holy shit. It's pretty ridiculous. Yes, we're finally getting into damn Star Wars territory. The siblings are meeting, the Force has aligned. Holy crap. It's kind of predictable in a sense, but I didn't expect that they were going to drop it on us at this point in time. They keep giving us all these crazy revelations, one after another, and since it was followed by such ridiculous action, I really wasn't prepared for that scene, but it's really going to change the entire dynamic of the rest of the series, because obviously Ryuko and Satsuki are probably going to have to team up, and they're going to go up against Ragyo and her entire army, which they're building up quite a bit. At the actual end of the episode, you get to see that Honnouji Academy is being invaded by a bunch of white tuxes, and nobody wants to be invaded by those. You don't want to get any blood on them. But the point is, this was a great episode. Just so many little moments, too many little things to count. There were a lot of little funny moments again with Mako and her family, and like I said, there was just so much action this week. There were so many crazy scenes. But I think some of my favorite ones was the Satsuki beheading scene, even though it didn't work. Just the way it was animated was so incredible. And, of course, all the big fight scenes, like the one that Ryuko had with Nui, was incredible. But Ragyo is proving to be a very nefarious and awesome and very memorable villain. And this episode is definitely the one that made me realize, yeah, even though they're not going out into space and throwing galaxies around, I still think this one is on par with Gurren Lagann. Because every episode is just incredible and really does stand on its own. But together, they are unfreaking stoppable. So check this series out. Check this episode out. I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. I thought it was incredible. This is my favorite series since Gurren Lagann, so I love it. So if you guys had a chance to check out this week's episode of Kill La Kill, it's time to let me know what you thought about it with your comments below. You can tell me about your favorite moments, favorite action scenes. Were you shocked by the massive revelation that Ryuko is actually Ragyo's daughter? And remember guys, before you leave, hit that like button, give this video a thumbs up. Definitely one of the best ways to support our videos, and it's probably one of the easiest. Remember guys, sub to the channel if you haven't already. So, I'll see you next time. Super Kami Guru 9000, out.